Hello, everyone. Wow, a little echo in here. Welcome to our scrutiny panels for the Canadian offices. This is our spring term panels. So today we'll be going through our scrutiny panel reports as well as some pre-submitted questions that we got. So we'll have the officers update first from their reports. We'll do the pre-submitted questions and then we'll open it up to the audience, both in person and online, for questions. So hopefully you get a taste of what we've been doing as officers at Kent Union and what campaign we've been running and what's next basically. So let's get into it. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Let's. To start off our officer update, Tom, did you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, this spring term has been quite busy, but towards the student priorities that fall under my remit, I've been working on improve student services, better mental health support, and deliver quality, diversity, and inclusion. And so, towards that work, I've been doing a variety of things. Firstly, the Wellbeing Student Advisory Board is an initiative that I've run in collaboration with the university to improve our approach to wellbeing. And we've successfully recruited 20 of the members who make up the board. They're really enthusiastic and from a diverse range of backgrounds. And already we've had our first meeting to discuss University Mental Health Day, as well as the recent review of the Kent Union Advice Service. If you're interested in finding more about that, you can go to Kent Union. Under the Student Voice section, there's the Wellbeing Student Advisory Board, where you can sort of read more about the members and what we've been up to. Excitingly, this has also been picked up by the BBC, as well as I've done interviews with BBC Radio Kent and Heart Radio Kent to talk more about it. As well as recently on the 14th of March was University Mental Health Day. This is a great day for me to engage with students around mental health and wellbeing at Kent. Also, we've secured money from the council for the Student Minds Look After Your Mate training, which empowers students to look after their own and others' mental health. And we've successfully trained up 10 staff members who are going to kind of roll this out further to students within May for Mental Health Awareness Week. And this has been done in collaboration with the Mental Health Project Coordinator that I've recently recruited, who has supported a lot of this work. And towards EDI, so Equality, Diversity, Inclusion, I led LGBTQ+ History Month, which was really successful. We had loads of amazing events, and we got to promote the LGBTQ+ Student Voices Project more, which is sort of researching the experience of the LGBTQ+ community here at Kent. We also had the Women's History Month, and this was a new addition to our annual cycle of history months. We were really pleased to include it. We had so many successful events, including our women's business market just yesterday with over 12 student businesses. It was great to put money back into student pockets. And very excitingly for me was I recently designed the Black-owned student business marketplace, which is a place for us to promote Black entrepreneurs and increase their visibility by showcasing their businesses on our website. This fits into the work that we've been doing for the Black Student Voices project last year. And if anyone's interested, you can find more just by going to kentunion.co.uk/Black-owned business. And some other things really has been working on the Black Student Voices action plan, so taking the recommendations and suggestions and looking at how we can then deliver these to really create some action what we've done. And it focuses greatly on sort of transparency as well as holding ourselves and the university to account. And just a few other little bits. Finally, it was Sexual Assault and Sexual Violence Awareness Week in sort of early February, and to kind of recognise this, I held a information fair with several charities in the Nexus. So that included East Kent Rape Crisis Centre, Rising Sun, Metro Sexual Health Charity, the University Medical Centre, Kent Union Advice Team, and Student Support and Wellbeing. And we engaged over 50+ students, some referring themselves onwards, which was a great thing that I was able to do, provide that space for the students. And then we had the Break the Silence March, which was about being as loud as possible, because often survivors of sexual violence are made to kind of suffer in silence. So this was a great march of solidarity and unity. I've been working closely with all our networks, including the Sustainability Network, for a sustainability and coffee event in Nexus, and we gathered lots of feedback on sustainability at Kent that we're going to take forward. And I've been working finally with our Kent Union Parliament members on some sort of recent accommodation issues that they've had, ensuring that we can work to improve the concerns they had so that further students don't experience the sort of issues they did, and it's been a great thing to do. And supporting plant-based universities, kind of getting their word out there, kind of promoting them and helping them with sort of event that they had recently, which was a great success. And just a tiny bit on the academic work that I've done to sort of fill that gap that's currently vacant. I held a student rep masterclass with the Student Learning Advisory Service to promote SLAS and empower reps to signpost students better. So that's things like essay writing to sort of support they can get for exam preparation. And just finally, there's a few months left in my role, so I will be soon writing a handover at the sort of middle of June to the end for the next Vice President Welfare and Community. But if you're interested in finding out any more details, you can find the full report online. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Great work. Yeah, let's clap. Okay, so moving on, Ben, you're our next scrutiny panel.
Yeah, so spring term has definitely been quite a difficult but rewarding time with the resignation of the VB academic experience in early January. I've been sort of attempting to take on a lot of that remit, whilst also managing the quite broad remit that the postgrad and international role already covered. So with that, there's, I think, 4 key things that I've been working on that I think have taken up most of the time. So the first 2 are ultimately updates on projects that we discussed throughout most of my scrutiny reports. The first of which is the PGR ILP project, or the Postgraduate Research Independent Learning Plan project, so not too much of a mouthful. That was ultimately looking into finding equitable ILPs for PhD students and ensure that they were getting the same kind of support that our undergraduate and master's community were. That work was progressing quite well. In early January, there was a working group set up with some PGR students with ILPs to kind of discuss the issues they face and how to go about it. And that is now being developed into a wider ILP review that's making up part of Kent 2030 and the strategy moving on. So thankfully, as will become apparent later on in the report, this work remains still a priority for me, but will be encompassed in the wider Kent 2030 work. The next big one on PGRs, on PhDs, is the PhD email project, which for anyone who has followed me since I got in office since August 22 has been something I've been occasionally blabbering on about 3 months intermittently. Has been something that we've been working on for ages. Keeping it very short and sweet, ultimately it's extending after they finish, a PhD student's email account will close 60 days after completion, which is a short amount of time to turn around all of your contacts, all of your work, anything you may have in your emails. But it just was a bit of a nightmare and really added that pressure on. Thankfully, the university has agreed, and this will soon be marketed and sent out in full swing. But the university has agreed that they're starting a pilot this entire academic year. So any PhD student that has finished their PhD from the 1st of January 2024 to the 31st of December 2024 will have a year-long access to their email account and be able to have that as well. And based on the success of the pilot, if it goes well, then the university will be implementing it full-time. But more to come on that, I imagine, with a larger marketing reveal and update. So on to the bulk of it all. It's ultimately been 2030 and the work around that. So in my capacity, there's 2 key bits I've been working on. The first was with Z primarily, which was supporting the student protests. So in response to the kind of recent course closure announcements throughout February, myself and the other officers worked closely with protesters to ensure that they weren't being stopped by any hurdles in the university and made sure that they could get any message they want and their voice heard by the right people and protest in the ways that they wanted. which was really fantastic. That included multiple marches, a sit-in outside of Templeman, and a couple of lectures throughout February and March. And then onto the bulk of it has been working with this Kent 2030 strategy more generally. So I've split it into two sections to talk about my capacity in Vice President of Postgraduate and International Experience, and also Vice President of Academic Experience. So in terms of the Vice President, or VP Pi, as I'll now refer to it as Postgrad and International, it's been prioritising block timetabling for commuting mature part-time and international students. This has been a system they've been requesting for years, and the new administration changes really allow this hurdle to be approached and built. The second has been lobbying and pushing for a wider culture shift within university structures to ensure that whilst recruitment is going on for this wider international market, and they're becoming the demographic on campus is changing, that the university's staffing structure and systems are matching that developing culture and matching that developing demographic. The next has been ensuring that the PGR cohort have not been lost throughout, particularly the course closures, with the arts and the humanities restructured last year, as well as various other things. PhD students tend to be the last to be thought about. So far, sort of lobbying on this led to a guarantee of a one-on-one consultation with all PGR students, as well as a guarantee of the least disruption possible. But the university seems a lot more eager to make sure that these students are sorted quickly and fastly, so fingers crossed, time will tell that that's worked. And the last thing in the VP Pi role has ultimately been starting early discussions around what that late summer term would look like, both this year in terms of the PG summer and community, well, not the PG summer anymore, summer at Kent, I think is the title it's going for, but starting to work around that, but also ensuring that this new term they're developing, which is meant to be the late summer, actually is effective in supporting the students that are around at that time. And a few more things to babble about, and then I can finally pass the microphone. Is the other aspect, the other side of that coin in the VP academic experience. So this has been working with one of the key work streams, which is the education modernization work stream, to ensure authentic assessments will be implemented into the new academic model. So students can be assessed in methods that are appropriate to their degree, instead of primarily having to do exams and essays and just the tedious stuff that's normally put in at work. We've also been consulting thoroughly with students regarding their thoughts on the shape of the new academic year, ensuring the university's plans align with the students' visions as much as possible. And the last and big job I've been doing here has been collating information, news, updates, details, and just anything we can find on Kent 2030, both as an internal document that can be used as a handover for the incoming VP Pi and VP Academic, and also a student hub that will be disseminated as soon as it's ready, that ultimately will have all of the details, so correlating all of this information that's been confusingly disseminated throughout many meetings, and trying to make it as accessible, understandable, and available to students as possible. And that, I think, is mostly me. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Wonderful.
The energy keeps getting lower. Okay. Moving on, I'll do my update and then Tony will go on. So, building on some of the Ben stuff as well, I have also been sharing a bit of the responsibility for the VP Academic Experience role. Did I say that right? I'm losing it. So, I've been working in the past year around 4 key areas, and my priorities have really shifted over the past few months due to just changes in the university that were out of our control. So, I've been focusing on the student priorities of cost of living, representation and transparency, academic improvement, and EDI. And these extra responsibilities kind of are fitted into this student priority. Now, the 4 key areas, let's focus on cost of living first. So we've done a lot of good work on cost of living. We have now completed and analyzed our cost of living survey 23-24, and the results are live on our website, so you can go visit the cost of living hub on the Kent Union website, or the cost of living support page on the university website. They're also available on Instagram, so you can kind of scroll through these slides, and there'll be a video as well to talk through some of the key points of the survey. Just to give you kind of an overview, the survey has just shown that things haven't gotten better, and we weren't expecting them to. We know that there are other areas of priorities and focus within the cost of living crisis that we need to kind of redesign our work around. So we recognize really, really well in the survey that students from marginalized backgrounds, especially students with disability, are facing the brunt of the cost of living crisis far more, and there's a lot more support that we need to put in place to be able to ensure that they can thrive here at Kent and thrive in their academics. So there's a lot of work around lobbying the university to put in the right accessibility support. I'll be working with Tom as well on student support and well-being and ensuring there's the right mitigations in place for them to be able to, not just survive here, but thrive here. Building on top of that, we will also be focusing on EDI within that. So in EDI, our EDI strategy went live this year, and now we've been doing the actual work behind it. It's all good and saying having an EDI strategy is there, but like, what are you actually doing, right? Putting actions to the words. So what we've been doing is we've been having 4 working groups within Kent Union that are comprised of staff, students, and officers to be able to really kind of further the work. So within our action plan, we have KPIs every year for the next 5 years, and we've been working on kind of auditing those and reviewing them, but then also completing some of the work. So that includes things around policies and procedures within Kent Union, using EDI checklists, doing like a quality impact assessment on key events areas. We're also looking at the way we recruit, kind of widespread EDI work, and I'm really, really grateful for all staff members at Kent Union who've been really engaged with the work on it. And sometimes EDI can be a scary subject to tackle, to be able to actually get the work done. But everyone's been really engaged and putting in the effort to be able to further our mission of becoming an equitable students' union. So quite excited for what comes ahead. This will obviously be in the handover for the next president as well, so they'll be hopefully continuing on that work, carrying it on year. The next area of focus is on representation and transparency. So now we've been doing a lot of work on ensuring that we're being transparent, not just from Kent Union, but also lobbying the university to be transparent, especially around Kent 2030, around the changes that are being made, as well as other key areas such as, graduation timelines, what's going on with timetabling, what's going on with the shape of the academic year, all of those areas. So that's just ongoing work. We've been continuing that. We have a really good relationship actually with the comms team at the university to be able to actually further that work. So we're hoping to continue pushing them, and also around key events in the world that impact students. So especially around the Israel-Gaza war, we've been able to actually do a lot of work and listening to our students who are impacted and being able to communicate the right things, but also know where we went wrong, accept our mistakes and some of the statements that were made, and then build on top of those, and also provide the right support. So that includes drop-in sessions, that includes outreach from departments as well to support those students. And there's a lot of work to do around there, so we'll be continuing that. And then finally, the big thing is Kent 2030, which fits into the academic improvement piece. So Kent 2030 has become kind of like a swear word in the university, but we're trying to ensure that we're separating that out and making it understandable for students. So I just recorded a video that's going to go out to explain the changes of Kent 2030, because Kent 2030 in itself is just the strategy for the university, as they have a strategy every 5 years. The current strategy ends in 2025, and then the new one starts, which will finish in 2030. So within the Kent 2030 strategy, there's multiple work streams, and only 2 of the work streams have like a direct impact on students. All of them have a overall impact in the student experience. But the 2 key areas, which is education modernization, as Ben mentioned, and then size and shape, where it is the kind of the placement for the course phase outs that have been happening. So we're really trying to support students in that, making sure they can get their voice heard and fight for what they believe in. So helping them organize protests, sit-ins, other kind of non-violent acts of like, I don't know, protests, yeah. So we're trying to really move that forward and be able to actually get their voice heard. So the university has also organized 2 separate Q&A sessions, one for undergraduates, postgraduates, and we still know that isn't enough. We need continuous communication. So we're pushing them to organize more and be able to actually provide students with timely information as the changes further. There's a lot of work behind the scenes around speaking to staff that are impacted, they're the main priority first of all, and then we'll be able to actually plan out what happens next, and we'll be backing students through and through. That is a responsibility. So in the meetings we're in, we're always making the university management think about what the impact on students will be. So yeah, that's kind of the overview. You can read the full report online. Next steps, I'll be focusing on K 2030 mainly, and also doing a project with Ben and other members at K Union to define student-centric and what that means, because we hear that word a lot. And then also creating my handover, because there's a lot in the background for the next president. And then finally, something which on the slide that I've been working on that's not part of the priorities, as my role as a trustee is also ensuring the financial sustainability of Kent Union. So a lot of conversations there in making sure we're being effective with the way we spend money, with the way we organize our activities that can have the best possible impact on the student experience. We want to achieve our mission, but the cost of living crisis also hits us as charity. So we need to work out how we can make that happen on the budget, and also be able to lobby on a national level for better funding and support in the higher education sector. So that is me. Thank you. I babbled on far too long. I'll pass it on to Tony.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk as briefly as I can because I'm feeling very fragile. Yesterday was our varsity Wednesday, which went down very well because we obviously won. So congratulations, Team Ken. But that will be part of my report, so I'll get on to that in a second. So under my three priorities, cost of living, campus facilities and community experience, and mental health, wellbeing and welfare. Obviously my report goes into a little bit of detail about what I have been working on, but one thing that I bring up every time is women not binary hours. So essentially how these are working hours, they just tick over, but we recognise that it's a very beneficial space for our women and non-binary people, and we want to know how we can best support other protected groups. So we're currently looking into like neurodivergence and whether we can create hours in the gym for students with particular differences, because we recognise how beneficial it has been. Okay, so on to varsity. So varsity obviously happens every year, but this year we wanted to do it a bit different in terms of campaign, because a lot of the feedback that we got from students was that our campaigns in previous years have been very tokenistic, and obviously working here, it's not tokenistic, but we wanted to be bold, we wanted to be supportive, we wanted to be inclusive, and I guess make a statement by creating a whole new campaign which is called Tell Your Story. And I got the idea of this campaign from Sport England, and essentially the campaign aims to represent REM involvement in sports. The REM is racially, ethnically marginalised people, students, individuals. So under this campaign, there was a lot that we did, and we just wanted to put it in your face in several different ways. So you would have seen at the varsity, different sports took the knee, and that was the side of us that was being bold, and that was the side of us that was making a statement to show solidarity for our own students, because both in Kent and Christchurch, our participation and representation of our own students is very, very low, and that's obviously something that's come off the back of the Actually Voices project, but then feedback from student groups themselves as well. The campaign has got a lot of traction, but if you want to see some of the other bits that we've been working on, such as the video or the banners, either take a look around campus and see which ones you can spot, or go to canterburyvarsity.com/campaign, something like that. Or you can find it on the Kent Union website, or on Instagram. It's everywhere. So yeah, definitely take a look, but also try and understand the reasons why some of our students feel like they can't engage in sport. But yeah, like I said, this was to be bold, supportive, and inclusive, but also to break those barriers and show that we do stand in solidarity against racism, but also we unite together with Christchurch to show that varsity isn't all about competition, but about coming together and just having fun. For the love of the game. You would get that if you knew the campaign. Another thing I've been working on, or I've worked on this term, is the This Can Can campaign. but this term was very much just campaign after campaign. Even actually, I didn't mention I got re-elected. Thanks. So obviously that was a campaign that took some of my time, but the This Can't Go Can campaign. So This Can't Go Can is very much sport focused, and something that I didn't want to do this year was just make it sport focused. I wanted everyone to have an opportunity to engage with the campaign. No matter who you are, it doesn't just have to be sport related. So we got some funding from Enterprise, and I can't remember how much it was, but a lot of the money I wanted to go back to students. I didn't just want it to be stuff that we paid for an event and blah blah blah. I wanted the money, the physical money, to go back to students because obviously one of my priorities are cost of living. So one thing I did was Woody's quiz. And this quiz, prize was £500 towards the student group, and then there was individual prizes as well. A lot of it was money, which they loved, and I would too. So yeah, this was run by the Women's Network, so shout out to them because they were really helpful. And they made the quiz themselves as well, but it was all on women empowerment. Parts of it, women in sport, women in film, women full stop. Just to show that this girl can do anything, really and truly. So congratulations to women's rugby because they won a lot of money. But another reason that I ran that event was because I wanted to bring women together. So that was a very packed Woodies night. But it got people talking about something other than women in sport, just women in general, and how we can better empower our students to understand the barriers for women. Yeah, there's a bit more detail in my report if you want to read it online. And the last thing is Medway and the shuttle bus again. So we received some feedback from students because of the change in provider of shuttle bus. It's now Zulu. There were some issues with the way that students would book the shuttle. So the transport team were being very slow in their responses to students, and I lobbied them to essentially work out where the booking system was and how quickly we could get it up and running. So it should be out today. Actually, they're doing a soft launch today, and then in the new term it should be the hard launch where students will be able to use the booking system. Use the booking system. But I think that's something that I would ask to get some more feedback from students on, because we know it's not going to be perfect. But at least there is a system now, which means that you can book onto the shuttle and you won't. So that you won't be waiting for a shuttle. But then the shuttle bus, again, with like the timings and the quality of the bus, it has improved, sorry. And that's, again, from student feedback. Just in our next steps. I'll just say reward and recognition is a big part of my next steps. So we've got activities awards and Team Kent awards coming up to give back to our students and recognise the work that they've done. And yeah, reward them and give them a little celebration. So that's what I'm going to say on that.
Thank you, Tony. So it's time to move on to our pre-submitted questions. Ooh, okay. That was so clear. We have 4 questions that were pre-submitted, and they're for specific roles, so I will ask you all in order. First of all, our first question is for the VP Student Engagement. Can you discuss any efforts made to enhance student engagement and participation in extracurricular activities.
In terms of my efforts, I feel like one thing I've learned, like going through this role, is that students will only turn up to things if they can see that it's happening. And the only way that they're going to be able to know that it's happening is if we go and talk to them. So I've made an effort to have conversations with students about various things that we're running, but also make it student-led, because it being student-led, they put their effort into it. They put their effort into it, and they're going to want to make it amazing. So in terms of my efforts, it would be like just providing them with the resources and giving them the necessary contacts to create their own events and create their own student experience. I've already discussed what I've done, so I don't know.
Thank you. I think it was important to highlight as well as we're really trying to figure out how to best communicate with students as well about the wide range of activities that Kent Union runs. So I think looking at the channels to communicate, that includes emails, that includes social media, includes talking to the person, leaflets on campus, sustainable leaflets on campus, and just really being able to spread the information, even if it's through word of mouth. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to best do it. What about him?
I mean, I think Tony's varsity campaign is sort of definitely done work towards participation in extracurricular, student groups and things by creating that conversation and highlighting that there is a disparity, and so that our student groups are aware that there needs to be change. And so that's the first step, is recognising there is an issue, and so they can actively dismantle that issue to increase participation, ensuring that everyone can get involved. And I think that's definitely some work that Tony's been doing that fits the question.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, shall we move on to our next pre-submitted question? This is for you, Ben, as the VP Postgrad and International Experience. So, what is being done to make postgrads feel more involved in the Kent community?
There could not have been a better question for me to get. I didn't plan this question. I wouldn't plan it if I could. So whoever sent this in, thank you so much. But yes, in terms of the making postgrads feeling more involved in the community, I ran on an initial campaign back in 2022 of Ben will back you with the basic idea of putting PGs back on the radar. And one thing I wanted to ensure with that was there was a postgraduate community. So last year, I think actually I'd say what is being done. We can skip last year. Last year there was the PG Summer, there was the Postgrad Network, who were absolutely outstanding in kind of increasing that connection with the GRC. As for this year, the Graduate Research College. As for this year, I got to jump in head first. Really enjoyed that. So we started off with Welcome Week, immediately starting off a MPCC, or Mature Part-Time Community Caring, and postgraduate group that ultimately had a range of different events. Throughout that first term, we had all sorts of different community buildings, from networking events to coffee socials to board game nights to even, I believe, a couple of nights out and about. Admittedly, because of the extended workload received in January onwards, I did fall off a little bit from leading this community building. What was wonderful to see is that pre-made community, particularly in the mature society, has been fantastic in keeping that engagement. And to make sure we really hit the ground running for next term in May, we're starting a series of events that will lead into the much wider Summer at Kent, or PG Summer, that will have a range of things, from everything from social events to large-scale employability or networking events. There'll be research conferences, pretty much anything that's wanted, we're going to make sure it's there. So fingers crossed, whoever sent this question in already does feel a little bit of a postgrad community, but if you don't, then I would keep your eyes and ears peeled for May, when stuff really starts kicking up again.
Thank you, Ben. I think just to add as well, in our leadership elections this year, we saw amazing engagement from the PG community as well, which is quite rare. Usually the PG community doesn't get involved in kind of Kent Union democratic process as much. But this year, that role has some of the most candidates. 3 out of the 5 elected new officers were PGs, which is amazing, having that representation. Yeah. So thank you so much for that work. I hope that answers the question. So we move on to the next question. So, what steps have been taken to address issues related to accommodation, affordability, and availability? Now, this is asked the whole team, but this is majority remit of the VP Welfare and Community, so I'll let him start.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to address that accommodation is very expensive, and I guess sometimes there isn't a lot of choice. And maintenance loans haven't increased with inflation, and so students have less money in their pockets. And accommodation continues to be the highest cost for a student. And so really, we've been able to, through the work we've done this year and this current year, is kind of gather feedback from students on kind of addressing the issue. So the cost of living survey last year and this year has highlighted that accommodation is quite unaffordable. And so really what we've been having conversations with the head of accommodation and customer services is around price, particularly ensuring that there's a ladder of rents. And so that Parkwood, mainly the cheaper accommodation, sort of at the 5.5k mark, roughly stays that price, so that those from the lowest income backgrounds can continue to afford the accommodation on campus and ensure that they have the best sort of availability there for students to take that up. And there is a big demand for Parkwood accommodation, and so it's ensuring that we continue to put that student voice in front of the decision makers to ensure that this continues to sort of stay at the lowest price for our students. And currently, sort of RPI is at 12%, and this has gone up less significantly, the accommodation more generally, than RPI itself. So we've managed to negotiate a lower increase than it was originally going to be planned to, particularly on accommodation that's owned by third-party providers, so UPP. So we're ensuring that students don't take the financial hit for the increase in accommodation costs. And more generally, I think ensuring that when you do pay a lot of money, that it's good value for money. And we've had a lot of feedback that students feel that it isn't good value for money. And members of our Kent Union Parliament have highlighted this. And so I think the best thing I can do in my role is bring student voice to the decision makers. And that is what I did recently. So we had 3 students meet the head of accommodation to discuss these, and it was very productive. It's actually meant that a lot of the feedback has now been utilised, because they're often sort of sit at a high level, they're not on the ground operationally doing things and seeing the issues that arise. So things like the heating, things like the housekeepers not kind of knocking on the doors or just walking in, not giving notice when they're going to appear. And so we've been able to raise that directly, and they've noticed that this is a problem now, and they are actively addressing it. And actually just today, that with the head of accommodation, we sort of said that perhaps because accommodation comes up a lot, we could hold like a termly forum to hear the student voice around feedback of accommodation, affordability, just general safety, and ensure that student voice is integral part of the decisions that take place. And I know it won't fix everything, this, but hopefully it means that your experience is a bit better. And we will continue to listen to your feedback to ensure that it's the best it possibly can be.
Thank you, Tom. I hope that helps clear up the competition question.
Little cheeky bit extra to add just on an international perspective as well. Something that we've been looking into more recently, both myself and the Global and Lifelong Learning team, is ensuring that if a student's here for the year, they don't have to do the awkward summer move in about June when the accommodation contract runs out. And we're currently working with the kind of a mixture of the student experience team, the accommodation team, and the International Student Advisory Board to find a feasible method that international students or students that don't traditionally start in September have accommodation all year round and don't have to move halfway through an important time.
Amazing. Thank you, Ben. Anything else to add? Perfect. Let's move on to our fourth and final pre-submitted question. Question is, can you provide updates on the initiatives aimed at improving mental health support for students? It was asked to the whole team, but once again, this is the remit of the Vice President of Welfare and Community. So back to you, Tom.
Seems like I'm quite popular this evening. I guess, I did highlight quite a few different initiatives within my Scrutiny panel report that you can definitely read online. I guess really for me, fundamentally, the most important part around initiatives aimed at improving mental health support for students is actually listening to the students. So I guess being a student representative, I'm not living that day-to-day student experience, and so therefore I don't know necessarily what it's like to be a student nowadays. So for me, it's integral to have that student voice at the heart of decision making here at Kent. And I will reiterate as said in the scrutiny panel, but I think it's most important to highlight is the Wellbeing Student Advisory Board. Now this is a concept that was brought by me to ensure that student voice is a central part of decision making. We've got 20 members of that board and they're paid to kind of provide their feedback. And already it's been so useful to know what the student experience here is at Kent and what issues there are with the mental health support that exists. And so we've been talking about University Mental Health Day, the advice service review, ensuring that our service that provides support to students for things that do impact your mental health, such as your finance, your academic studies, is the best service possible. So looking at opening hours, the ways you can get in contact with advice, being more proactive rather than reactive with our advice, so ensuring that we're tackling the issues before they become an issue for students. And I think this has been very valuable and it has been picked up by the BBC, so they kind of recognise actually this is a great initiative that universities and unions need to adopt across the country. And really I do believe that this will have a wider impact for years to come, and hopefully more students can get involved with it in future years. And for me really I think the next one is that cascading effect. So mental health, if you know how to look after your mental health, you can support your friends, because often students in their accommodation might be really struggling and go to their flatmate and be like, I really need some help. And it's often our friends who have to kind of deal with mental health crisis. So the best thing we can do is upskill our students, and that's why the money we secured from the council for the Look After Your Mate training has been really valuable, because now our staff can deliver sessions to students to empower themselves to look after their own well-being, but also to directly signpost to the services that exist for other students too. And we're holding 2 sessions in May, sort of the 15th and the 17th, I believe it is, where students can sign up and take part and kind of get involved. And the aim is to embed this into committee training, so all our committees who I guess have a leadership role, often students will come to them with issues that they feel confident, because feedback we've received previously is that our key student volunteers don't necessarily know how to deal with mental health issues that arise. And I think these 2 initiatives really will have a knock-on impact that will hopefully alleviate some of the sort of mental health sort of issues that you might encounter as a student. But again, obviously we haven't got everything perfect, and we continue to listen to student voice. And the person who asked us if you've got anything in particular that you'd love to kind of see done, then please do get in contact. I'd love to hear your ideas. But thank you.
Yeah, just going on from what Tom said about listening, I think that's a big part of like how we can support students. So I hate to talk about a campaign again, but so part of the campaign was the Talking Heads documentary, and obviously that was only a small number of our students, but every single one of them said to me that it felt like a therapy session, it felt like free therapy. And obviously that's not something that I can do with every single student, but in future, my aim would be to create more spaces where students have the ability to talk about their own experiences and tell their story. Hashtag. So yeah, that's something that has helped their mental health in a sense, like the feeling of being seen. So I guess that's what I want to take on and do in the future. not just for a varsity campaign. But then also, I guess, under that is kind of like EDI and mental health training. So those will be things that I'll be working on as well in the future.
Thank you so much, Sonia and Tom. Great work. Ben?
One more little bit, and that's actually just on our side of it. So as mentioned, obviously specific initiatives, one I was working on for a while was the PGR ILP project, but now that's been built into the wider ILP review that we part of Kent 2030, both myself, Zed, and probably Tom when we rope him into it as well, will be poured into that more widely.
Thank you, Ben. Sorry about that. Great. Okay, so that is our pre-submitted questions done. Ooh. Now it is time to move on to the in-person online questions section. I don't see any online questions so far. There's one question, no questions, no question. Any questions in the room? Okay. Okay.
I have a question for all of us. What is one thing that you think has made the most impact? Because obviously I know these three officers are coming to the end of their term. So what would you say?
One more panel.
Oh, we do?
The summer term panel.
Okay, this term then. Yeah, so what would you say has made the most impact? Or what are you the most proud of?
Stressed.
Honestly, if you had a bingo card and you had the Wellbeing Student Advisory Board on there, that would probably be,
Yeah, really fun drinking game.
Yeah. Honestly, you'd probably be very drunk right now. But again, this is a great legacy project that I'm going to leave behind in the sense that this is seen very highly by the university. I've already had so many opportunities come from it, from the digital and creative team to the press team who helped me out to get this sort of wider seen and visible. And so actually there's so much appetite at the university for more student voice. And I believe that because they're paid as well, that this is something that's quite different than the current model that maybe we use currently at Kent Union. Hopefully it will inspire Kent Union to kind of look at ways we can listen to student voice more. And it's proven in the engagement in it that we've managed to get a lot of people who are willing to get involved. So for me, this is probably the proudest achievement that I think will continue on.
Okay, so I think for me, in the positive, it's been overall really stepping up to kind of fill in the gaps from the DP academic experience role, but also the stuff that happened in Kent 2030, because it's so broad and academic focused. I never thought that I'd be doing things like that, like what I've been doing so far, but supporting our students to organize protests and be able to kind of get their voice heard and have that action behind it. That's really exciting. I think that's why I initially ran with these roles as well. I was really kind of political and got involved in those protests when we had industrial action and things like that, like the sit-in agreement and all of those things, and kind of brought me back to what student union should be, the grassroots, So that's really kind of the exciting part. I think that's been the most fun thing so far. One of the biggest impact. We saved, even though there's been quite sad course phase out period, the consultation ending, but we still managed to save 3, courses, which is amazing. So modern languages, and English language and literatures, period.
Yeah, I'm going to go immediately on the nerd front and move away from anything. For me, it's got to be the email thing. I know it sounds not that big a deal, but that really is a project that I thought would outlive my time at Kent. Because ultimately there's so many issues around data, licensing, different groups had to be involved, different meetings had to be had, many Teams messages. And it was a thing that I thought may potentially either be roped into Kent 2030 and never get done, or would outlive me just on what licensing stuff has got left. So actually getting that concluded and being able to market that soon is, without a doubt, one of the things that I'm most proud of. Very boring. I understand that talking about emails only gets so exciting, but I'm really chuffed that it's done.
Please, and thank you, Ben. And Tony? Tell me a story one more time.
Wow.
tell the story.
I'm most proud of my officer team. I think they're amazing people, and I'm gonna miss them.
You're so cute. On that note, let's stop this softfest and move on. We don't have any in-person questions. We don't have any online questions. So I'm gonna close this Scrutiny panel. Thank you so much for watching and thank you for engaging. And if you want to have more information on our reports, you can see them online on the Kent Union website. The link is in our bio and Instagram as well. I think this recording is uploaded onto YouTube as well, so you can watch it afterwards. And yeah, any questions, please do reach out to us. Our emails are on the website, so you can reach out individually and ask us a question. Thank you.